This moment is not ordinary, and this message is not something you can afford to casually scroll past or set aside for later, because the urgency pulsing behind these words is not from earth. It is from heaven itself, and Jesus, the Son of the living God, the one who walked on water, who wept at the tomb of Lazarus, who gave sight to the blind and raised the dead, is reaching out to you now, with tears in his eyes and fire in his voice, crying out not in condemnation, but in divine desperation. Because the time is short, the hour is late, and your spirit is standing on the edge of a turning point that cannot and will not be delayed any longer. And you may not understand why you're seeing this message right now. But know this, your soul does. Your soul has been crying out for clarity, for truth, for confirmation. And heaven has heard that cry and responded not with thunder or lightning, but with the still, urgent voice of your Savior, the one who bore the weight of every sin you've ever committed or even thought about committing, the one who was bruised for your iniquities and pierced for your peace, the one who has watched you suffer silently, stumble in confusion, question your worth, question your path, and question whether you've already missed the moment that mattered most. But let me be clear, you haven't missed it yet, but you will if you ignore this. Because the doors that are opening in the spirit realm right now will not stay open forever. And if you don't choose to, step through them before midnight. Yes, before the stroke of 12. Then you are choosing delay. You are choosing detour. You are choosing a wilderness that Jesus died to bring you out of. And he is not mad at you. He is not disappointed in you. But he is desperate for you to listen, to hear not just these words, but the vibration of truth trembling beneath them, because someone has been lying to you. Someone has been speaking over your destiny with words wrapped in charm, but drenched in deception, and Jesus has been trying to get your attention, not to scare you, but to save you, not to punish you, but to position you for what is coming next. And what is coming next is not just a blessing, not just a miracle, but a full circle moment that will undo years of pain in the blink of an eye. But only if you are in position, only if you are awake, only if you are willing to stop pretending everything is fine when your heart has been silently breaking under the weight of unseen burdens. And Jesus, in all his glory, is pleading, not with authority, but with intimacy, like a friend who has watched you wander too far and too long, who has seen you trust the wrong voices, love the wrong people, and sit in rooms that your spirit was never designed to tolerate. And now he is saying enough. Enough of shrinking to fit into spaces that insult your purpose. Enough of staying silent just to avoid conflict. Enough of accepting crumbs when you were born to feast at the table of kings. Because your inheritance is being written even now in heavenly ink, and there are angels assigned to deliver what has your name on it. But they cannot release it until you respond to the instruction Jesus is trying to place in your hands. And this instruction is simple. Open your eyes, look again, pay attention to what has been repeating itself lately. The numbers, the dreams, the faces, the strange sense of déjà vu. And understand that none of it is random. All of it is heaven's coded way of guiding you gently but urgently to the truth. And the truth is this. Someone has been praying against you while pretending to pray for you. Someone has been planting seeds of delay in the soil of your progress. And Jesus cannot stand by while you're being spiritually ambushed by people you thought were harmless. So this message is not just a warning. It is a lifeline. It is Jesus saying to you, please, please don't miss this one. Not again, because you have missed other moments. You have let other signs slip by. You have ignored your gut when it screamed at you in the middle of the night. And Jesus covered you then. He protected you even when you were blind. But now he is asking for your participation. Now he is asking you to choose him again. Not in theory, but in action, in obedience, in trust. Because this next move requires faith, not logic. And if you hesitate, the door will shut, not out of punishment, but out of divine timing. And you will know in your bones that you were supposed to act, and you didn't. And the regret will not be because God abandoned you. but because you abandoned the moment he hand-delivered. And so now, as the minutes tick down toward midnight, Jesus is wrapping himself around you like a shield. He is standing between you and every arrow meant for your soul. And he is saying, come to me now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when it's more convenient, but now. Because now is when the window is open. Now is when the tide is turning. Now is when your name is being spoken in rooms you haven't entered yet. And now is when the prophecy over your life is ready to unfold. But only if you show up. Only if you choose obedience over comfort and clarity over confusion and trust over fear. Because what waits on the other side of this yes will blow your mind. But only if you say yes before midnight. And now that your heart has heard the call, now that your spirit is beginning to stir under the weight of what heaven is trying to unveil, you must understand that this moment has been in the making for longer than you realize. This divine intersection of revelation and responsibility was not orchestrated by accident. For even the very second your eyes fell upon this message was written into the scroll of your life by the hand of the Almighty. And Jesus, seated at the right hand of the Father, looked at your timeline and whispered to the angels, now, send it now, because if they miss this, they will wander through another season of unnecessary heartbreak, another cycle of false friendships, another lap around a mountain I already died to move out of their way. And while the enemy has tried to distract you with busyness, confusion, even spiritual numbness, thinking he could cloud your senses and keep you from receiving this holy summons, he has underestimated the strength of the fire, still alive inside you, the ember that refuses to go out, the whisper of God's voice you've been hearing in your sleep, in your solitude, even in the silence when everything felt empty. And that ember is about to become a wildfire, not one that destroys, but one that refines, because Jesus is not calling you into chaos. He is calling you into clarity, but clarity cannot come while you keep entertaining the lie that you have more time, that it's not that urgent, that you can afford to delay. Obedience, one more hour, one more night, one more decision. And this is the deception he's pleading with you to wake up from, because the longer you pretend you don't feel the pull, the longer you agree to stay in places God has already told your spirit to leave, and what's coming after midnight will not wait for your comfort. It will only respond to your surrender, and Jesus is watching the weight you carry. The fear of letting go of people who no longer love you in truth, the anxiety that maybe you've already messed up too badly to be redeemed, the paralyzing doubt that maybe this message is for someone else, someone more righteous, more faithful, more worthy. But let me silence that lie right now. This message is for you, exactly you, in the exact state you are in, because Jesus does not call the flawless, he calls the willing. He does not wait for you to fix yourself before he speaks. He speaks so that you can be fixed by his truth. And right now his voice is shaking the heavens with your name on it, calling you not by your failures, but by your purpose, not by your scars, but by your identity in him. And you need to understand that this calling is not small. Heaven is not warning you for no reason. Jesus is not pleading with you for a minor adjustment. This is serious because what is being decided over your life in this very window of time is tied to generations, legacy, healing, promises made before you were born, and the enemy knows it, which is why the spiritual warfare has intensified lately, why your dreams have been strange, why people around you have started acting out of character, why your peace has been attacked with unexplainable heaviness. Because something in the spirit realm has shifted, and Jesus is trying to get you into divine alignment before it becomes too late to reposition, too late to reclaim what's rightfully yours. And he's not using fear to push you. He's using love to pull you. Love that remembers every tear you've cried in private. Every night you questioned whether your prayers were working. Every moment you chose to survive when giving up would have been easier. And this same love is what's moving him to speak now, more urgently than ever before, because he knows that the delay has done enough damage. The silence has cost you enough, and he refuses to let you settle for a life that looks nothing like the prophecy he's placed over you. But to unlock it, you have to face what you've been ignoring. You have to confront the relationships that drain you, the compromises that quietly erode your anointing, the distractions that look harmless but are rooted in spiritual sabotage. And Jesus is not condemning you for any of this. He's reaching out with both hands to pull you up and out, and he's saying, "Come, beloved, I will show you what your eyes haven't seen. I will walk with you into a future the world said you forfeited. But you must come before the window closes, because the angels are preparing to seal what's been opened. And if you're not ready, what should have been your elevation could become your detour. Not because God doesn't love you, but because timing is sacred. And right now, Jesus is placing a holy clock before your spirit, and it is ticking down toward midnight. And once the hands align and the moment shifts, it will not return the same form. And the weight of regret that follows missed destiny is not something heaven wants you to carry. So please don't let this message go unanswered, because even now angels are waiting, scrolls are being opened, names are being spoken, and your obedience in this very hour will determine whether your name is among them. And now, with the heavenly realm leaning in closer and the unseen hosts holding their breath, Jesus stands not in distant judgment, but in aching love, stretching his hands toward you with a depth of urgency that cannot be described by time or space. Because what's unfolding in this hour is not merely a moment of spiritual encouragement. It is a divine intervention, one that has been etched into the timeline of your soul before your body ever took its first breath on this earth. And as the spiritual clock ticks closer to that sacred threshold, midnight, not the midnight of the world, but the midnight of divine decision, Jesus is urging you to understand what is really happening behind the veil, because if your spiritual eyes were opened fully right now, you would see that this isn't just about you missing a message or skipping a prayer. It's about the very trajectory of your calling and the doorways that lead either to inheritance or to delay, either to alignment or to another season of spiritual wandering. And the Lord is tired of watching you settle for less when he died for more, tired of watching you battle the same cycles when he's already given you the authority to break them, tired of watching you entertain people and environments that keep your light dimmed because they fear the strength of your calling if you ever walked in it fully. And Jesus is speaking not with frustration, but with a holy urgency born of pure love, a love that sees the full picture and knows the weight of what is hanging in the balance, because heaven has already begun to mobilize the resources, the connections, the divine appointments, the answers to prayers you've been whispering in the dark for years. But those blessings are contingent upon your decision in this hour, not your perfection, but your willingness to surrender everything that is not aligned with God's voice. And that includes your comfort, your fear, your attachment to what feels familiar, even when it's slowly breaking you. And right now, Jesus is whispering to you in a way that only your soul can recognize. This is the moment you've been waiting for. This is the message I prepared when you thought I was silent. This is the door that will not open again if you walk away from it now. And this is why the warfare around you is intensified, why everything that used to bring peace now feels uncertain, why your dreams have been stirring with symbolism, faces, names, places that don't make sense yet. Because your spirit is sensing what your mind hasn't caught up to yet, that something is moving behind the curtain of this physical world. And if you don't stop now and listen, really listen, you will walk past the very answer you were sent to receive. And Jesus knows how close you've come to giving up, how exhausted your heart is from trying to be strong for everyone else while inside you've been begging for a sign that heaven still sees you. And this is that sign, not just a feel-good message, but a divine summons that carries weight in the spirit realm. And if you could only hear the way your name is being spoken in heaven right now, you would fall to your knees in tears, not from fear, but from awe that the King of Kings still chooses to fight for you, still chooses to call you out of the shadows, still sees the value in the parts of you you've hidden from the world, And he's not asking you to clean yourself up before you come. He's asking you to bring your mess, your doubt, your grief, your confusion, your guilt, your questions. He wants all of it, because only in the light of his presence can it be transformed. And the reason Jesus is begging you, yes, begging, is not because he's desperate, but because he respects your free will so much that he will never override your choices, even if your choices are leading you away from destiny. And this window he's opened for you tonight is rare, sacred, protected, but it will not remain open forever, because certain seasons in the kingdom are marked by divine appointments, and missing them is not a punishment. It's a consequence of delay. And you were not born to live under delay. You were born to fulfill every word spoken over your life before the foundations of the world were laid. But that fulfillment requires a moment like this, a moment of divine confrontation where Jesus does not just speak softly. He cries out, he intercedes, he pleads with a broken world, saying, "Come home, come out, come higher, come quickly." And he's asking you right now, will you respond? Will you move? Will you lay it down? Because angels are already in motion. Heaven is already aligning the next steps. But you must say yes before midnight. You must stop just reading and start believing. You must not walk away thinking this was coincidence, because it was not. It was predestined, prayed over, prophesied, and this message is the final confirmation you've been asking for. And if you respond, what happens next will be unlike anything you've ever seen, because the future Jesus is trying to hand you is bursting with things your eyes have not seen and your ears have not heard. But your heart is now beginning to know it was made for this very moment. And now, as the hour draws nearer and heaven's voice grows louder in the quiet corners of your spirit, Jesus is leaning in closer than ever before, his presence brushing against your thoughts like a breeze you can't explain but can no longer deny. Because this isn't just about a warning. It's a divine awakening, a last invitation before midnight that reaches past your distractions, your doubts, and even your defenses, pulling at your soul with an urgency too sacred to ignore, for the angels have been dispatched. The veil between realms is thinner than you think, and everything in the spiritual atmosphere is being arranged for a final moment of clarity where your destiny, your healing, and your breakthrough all hang in the balance. And Jesus, who has watched you wrestle silently with fears no one else knows, who has heard every silent prayer, every midnight tear, and every whispered cry for purpose, is now releasing something that was sealed for this exact moment in time. Something so holy that the enemy has been trembling at the thought of you receiving it. Because when you do, when you finally open your heart to this sacred truth, your chains will shatter and your path will ignite with divine fire. Not the fire that destroys, but the fire that purifies, illuminates, and clears everything that has tried to stand in your way. For the Lord your God is not a God of delay. He is the Alpha and Omega, the one who has authored your story with redemption in every line. And the miracle he wants to unleash over your life tonight is not only real, it is already at the door, knocking. And the only question is, will you answer before it's too late? Because this kind of divine timing doesn't repeat itself endlessly. And the reason Jesus is begging you now, the reason this message found you in this exact moment, is because your window is opening right now, and heaven does not want you to miss what has your name written in glory. And there are blessings that have been withheld, not because you are unworthy, but because the timing wasn't right. Until now and tonight, heaven's courtroom is in session and your name is being spoken by the King himself, not in condemnation, but in loving declaration, saying, "This is my child, and what I have ordained for them will not be stolen." But even divine plans require your agreement. And this is why this moment is so serious, so pivotal, because your yes in this hour will echo through eternity, unlocking doors your family never got to walk through, redeeming bloodlines, restoring what was lost, and breaking every chain the enemy thought he secured around your life. And Jesus wants you to hear this. You're not forgotten, You are not abandoned, and everything you've gone through, the heartbreak, the loss, the betrayals, have not been wasted. They have been preparation for the elevation He is now offering. But He cannot pour new wine into old wineskins, which means there are things you must leave behind tonight: thoughts, relationships, habits, distractions, and fears that have no place in your future. And if you're willing to surrender those, Jesus promises you this: a revelation so powerful it will realign every area of your life, a joy that no person can steal, and favor that will make even your enemies wonder how you survived. And this isn't some poetic promise or a vague spiritual comfort. It is a literal unfolding of heaven's intervention in your story, but only if you choose it now, before midnight, because once the spiritual clock turns, this season will pass and the next will begin. And if you enter it without this message rooted in your heart, you risk carrying yesterday's pain into tomorrow's miracle. And that is not what Jesus wants for you. He wants you free, fully, deeply, eternally free. And He is offering you that now with outstretched hands. And for those who stay until the very end of this message, who don't scroll away, who don't push the conviction aside, there is something else. Jesus is releasing a special blessing right now, a divine covering over your home, a breakthrough in a situation you've been praying over for years. And even now, as you hear these words, something is beginning to shift. You can feel it in your spirit, a trembling, a release, a holy confirmation that what you hoped was true is not only true, it is happening now. And so this is your final call before midnight. Don't look back. Don't delay. Don't doubt. Stand up in faith. Speak out loud if you must say, Jesus, I receive. Because when you do, angels will be dispatched, chains will be broken, and your miracle will begin to manifest before your very eyes. And you will remember this moment for the rest of your life, not as just another video, but as the night your soul met heaven face to face, and everything changed.